The episode starts and we're right back into it, where, as they showed in the preview clip, that Vanessa was going to confront RAQ. I was quite surprised by that, as until I saw it in the preview clip, you know, like Ronnie being messy, like he tipped Vanessa off to RAQ and Unique messing about. And I completely understood Vanessa confronting Unique because she knows him, right? And I don't think Unique would really do anything to her. But I really wasn't expecting her to confront RAQ. And I feel like even with her finding out about Unique and RAQ, I think what put the battery in her back to go confront RAQ, and you see that she brought a gun, was more so Unique being missing. Because you see, during their entire exchange, she didn't really ask RAQ anything about her and Unique, right? Her focus was on Unique being missing. At this point now, it gives us some framework for the amount of time that's passed, where, you know, she states it's like a week since she's seen Unique. No one's seen or heard from him or anything like that. He hasn't, fine, her and Unique have drama, fine, if he doesn't reach out to her, but that he hasn't made any attempt to connect or communicate with their son gives her pause. And with that, and I think this is something that's going to come back up, you know, this mention of RAQ's past relationships, right? Or at least the ones that are thought to be most serious, which would be High Post, right? Where, remember, if you think back to the first season, it was mentioned that High Post, someone lit him on fire for supposedly snitching. And DEFCON, where he went to prison, it sounds like, and then somehow we found out in the first episode of this season that he's actually dead. Like, he's not just in prison, he's actually dead. And RAQ made mention of it, you know, when she was explaining to Marvin why she'd passed Kanan off as DEFCON's son, that, you know, the streets would talk and she'd probably be facing some serious problems out here in the streets if everyone knew that, you know, she'd been involved with Howard, right? I don't remember that she necessarily said who the cop was, just that it, or rather just that it was a cop, you know, but from what we see here, it seems like people might not know the details, but there's definitely some whispering probably going on about RAQ anyway, you know, about what happened to High Post, as well as what happened to DEFCON, right? Because Vanessa, we see, was talking about that. And it wasn't a major leap. Instead of her thinking that maybe Ronnie did something to Unique, it made more sense to her that RAQ, sort of being a Black Widow of sorts, would have been the one to do something to Unique, right? So it's like, even that people think that that's a possibility, it speaks to the reality that people are probably talking about her anyway. You know, that how is it that RAQ got into this position, right? Because as we're seeing, she didn't really, like, it doesn't sound like RAQ was ever out on the corner, like, hustling and worked her way up or anything like that. She kind of got to where she is in part due to these relationships with these guys that she had, right? Like, starting out learning in DEFCON's organization, then later on being with High Post, and then conveniently High Post ends up dying and she takes over his organization. So it's like the streets are out here talking, you know, and while RAQ's been doing all of this stuff in efforts to kind of try to, you know, maintain her reputation and whatnot, it seems like there's probably rumors out there and, you know, talking going on, and there's trouble brewing there for her. You know, all it takes, it's like, you know, you look at it with, like, celebrities, where they'll be, like, whispering about them and their bad behavior, right? Like, not to get off track, but it's like, you think about a Bill Cosby, you think about more recently, like, you know, R. Kelly, and then within the last year or so, Diddy, where it's like, there's whispering and rumor and things like that, and it goes on for years until something happens where either someone directly takes a shot at this person, or, you know, they get into some kind of trouble or whatever it is. Someone decides to file a lawsuit, or, you know, you have a comedian that decides to make like a direct joke or something. And that's when everyone else, it becomes like open season. It makes everyone else feel comfortable to speak on it or to speak up, or even, as I think will be the case of RAQ, where it's like that kind of armor and shield that she was wearing for a bit, I could see people not really paying that much mind anymore. Where with these kind of questions floating around and her being tangled up with Unique and stuff, and suddenly he goes missing, and it's like, you look at it, this is now the third guy that she's been involved with where something's happened to him. Now we know as the audience that she didn't have anything to do with Unique's disappearance, but the streets are talking, and it's like, it sounds like RAQ right now has power to, notice the pun there, to kind of keep her in her position. But I get the feeling that the moment anyone takes a shot at her, all of these like little underhanded things that she's done to other people, it's going to come back to bite her. And it could be someone else, but I feel like Ronnie is kind of biding his time, but I feel like eventually he's going to end up coming for her directly, and with that, I think it's going to then, if he's not successful, I think it then opens things up for open season on her. Because let's say if Lou keeps with it of staying out of the business, that's one of her protectors is out the way. So if anything then happens to Marvin, that's like, and she'll be out there by herself, because it's like, this doesn't work for RAQ if RAQ doesn't have her brothers and this reputation about herself to protect her, right? It'll be open season on her. You then have this thing of her like still meeting up with Howard, where they're starting to talk, or the streets are starting to talk about Unique being missing. And for whatever reason, like I said, this thing about RAQ and her reputation, that it's easy enough for people to assume that she had something to do with it. Now, granted, that's due in part, like, it doesn't sound like Howard knows that RAQ and Unique were messing around, but rather that, given that he's been her competitor up to this point, that they don't think it's that far-fetched that she might have done something to him, despite her claiming to be out of the business.
Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, go ahead and click the thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.